Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Eyes on the Mise. My name is John. That's Ian.
Hey, everybody.
It is episode 80. We are recording on April 18th, which is the updated tax day. So hopefully your taxes were already in.
Dude, I did my taxes like in February. Like literally the minute I got my W-2s, I'm like, taxes submitted.
You are what we call a responsible person.
It's called...
Actually, this is an interesting question.
It's called I Want My Money.
Here's
Please
another
give me my
question.
refund.
Since you are in the Army, and the Army is paid for by our taxes, are you technically paying yourself?
I mean, it's weird, but technically, yes. It's really weird.
I mean, we don't need to get into tax stuff because we got magic stuff to talk about. But
no. But no, it just kind of like, I'm not even saying like weird and like oh yeah, it is kind of wink, wink, nudge, nudge. It's like, no, it actually is kind of like circuitous like that, where it's like taxpayer dollars fund the government, which pays my bills, or which pays my salary, but I also take a cut. They also take a cut in federal and state taxes out of the pay that the federal government has paid me.
Yeah, that's a little weird.
Yep. Yeah. Just let that hurt your brain for a minute or two.
Anyways, did I say the title? The title is Into the Arena because alongside the fact that Dominaria pre-releases this weekend and you all should go, there's a big info dump about new stuff coming out for Arena thanks to Dominaria. And we want to talk a little bit about that, a few more of the Dominaria kind of rules changes and new cards and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because Dominaria looks really sweet.
I'm doing Two-Headed Giant on Sunday because I was going to do some more on Saturday. Lindsay and I were actually talking about it, like really. It's like, hey, some of our friends are doing it on Saturday and Sunday. I'm like, I think we might have missed out by a week on that because Card Kingdom is a very popular store to do the pre-release at. And they sell out literally weeks in advance for like 70 plus slots on each of their time things for the 11 a.m. slots.
I'm very lucky that's not an issue I've ever had to come up against where a store's like, yeah, sorry, we can't.
Oh, no. Their midnight ones and their 5 p.m. ones still have slots available on Sunday. There's also, that's the Ballard store, not the Bellevue store. But Lindsay and I are going to the Bellevue store on Sunday night for the Two-Headed Giant.
Oh, well. Anyways.
That's what we always do. It's fun.
But first, we want to turn our eyes to the community real quick because we had a historic event happen this weekend out in Sydney, I believe. I believe it was out in Australia.
Melbourne.
It was in Melbourne?
Yeah.
I'm sorry to our Australian listeners.
No, you're right. It was Sydney. I'm wrong. No, I'm sorry. I had Melbourne on the brain because they just changed the
they just changed it to Melbourne.
GP Melbourne. Yeah.
Yep.
It was Sydney.
Yeah, it is.
Man, back-to-back weeks of historic events. What was this one, John?
This one was Magic has been around for 25 years. And little unsurprising fact, we haven't had a lot of very high-profile women players in a long time. And we've had women top 8 Pro Tours, we've had women top 8 GPs, but two of the things that haven't happened up until this point have been a woman has never won a Pro Tour, and a woman has never won a GP. But there weren't any Pro Tours this weekend, which means that we had our first woman win a GP in all of Magic's history.
Yeah, and it was a team event. So here's the thing. Not to belittle this fact that is a team, she did work on her own. In fact, the actual final concession in the championship was her opponent to her. Because I think she won game 2, the second match, which led to their win. As far as what I saw on the hand shot video, because there was no coverage of GP Sydney this weekend.
Right.
Outside of text. But yeah, Jessica, I think it's a Stefan.
That sounds about right.
Stefan. Sorry, butchered your name, Jessica. Anyway, congratulations to her, Ryan Lewis-Johns, and Lachlan Saunders, who were her teammates. She was on Black Red Hollow One, which is just utterly demolishing people these days. Ryan was on Humans, and Lachlan was on Mono Green Tron. So basically, the current 3, I'm not to say best, but biggest beaters right now in the format in Modern. Or those 3 decks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that.
And also
that
this past weekend, this past weekend was also GP Hartford, which was, I think they did have coverage for.
Yes, they did.
And that was just regular Modern, whereas Sydney was Team Modern.
Yep.
And Modern seems to be very combo-centric or aggressive-centric.
Yeah, Modern has become a ship in the night format. Matt Nass, #Team Shorts, won with Ironwork combo. So Clark Clan Ironworks, which basically uses that plus Scrap Trawler and Mirror Retriever to just cycle through a whole bunch of stuff and just literally...
Eventually it generates enough mana to Pyrite Spellbomb you to death.
Yeah, and it just starts recurring Pyrite Spellbombs, like starts looping it. So basically it just starts popping you for 2 damage in the face constantly over and over again.
I will say that I was rooting for Mapson, his opponent, who was on Primeval Titan.
Yeah, Amulet Titan, still a thing.
Yep.
Still a thing.
Good, but still
we had
very
a
powerful.
Burn Green-White Hexproof, so Boggles.
Mm-hmm.
That, let me tell you what, Boggles is running 4 main deck Leyline of Sanctity these days.
Yeah, they've been doing it since the mocks, and it's been really helping out its issues with stuff like Liliana the Veil and discard.
It's disgusting, and I hate it because that's what I'm basically running these days. Frank Scarron had brought Affinity. We had a Black-Red Hollow and Max McVitie in the top 8. Elves, top 8, and another Boggles deck. Titan Shift, Blue-Red Breach, Living End, a Blue-Black taking turns deck instead of the usual mono-blue or blue-white. That's Daniel Wong. He's the guy who quad sleeves his cards.
Oh, the legendary quad sleeve all foil deck?
Yes, the one from GP Vegas last year. Yeah, he finished 12th this weekend. Packhawks on Humans, Oliver 2 on Pyromancer, another Black Red Hollow one, and JD and Clemperens on Jund. Round out the top 16.
There you go.
So
Modern looks a lot of fun.
We had a top 16 finish in one event for a woman, and then we hit a winner in the other one. And we had non-binary competitor, Autumn. I've blanked on her last name right now. She won.
Burchett, I believe.
Yeah, Burchett. Yeah, they won the online mocks.
Yes.
Open.
Which means that they're qualified for the Pro Tour, which means they're qualified for the Magic Online Championships next year, among many other things.
Yeah, so pretty awesome weekend in terms of big events in paper and online. But now, you also had a big event in paper this weekend, John. Let's
this past weekend was the last weekend for PPTQs to qualify for the RPTQs to qualify for Pro Tour 25th Anniversary, which is the team event. And this was out in Clarksville, Tennessee, which is about an hour and a half drive. My friend Doug and I drove up there, and I was going to be playing New Perspectives because I really like the deck.
You're weird,
and I think it was really good.
He's been trying to get me to play this deck for forever.
It's so much fun. Okay, listen.
I'm not hating on it. I'm just saying you're just trying to get me to constantly play. It's like I'm like I don't know what to play in Standard. Play New Perspectives. I'm like John, come on.
It's really cheap to build. The singles are very, very inexpensive. But anyways, Doug was playing Esper Tokens. Which is essentially, if you don't know what Esper Tokens is, it is a black-white deck splashing blue around the synergy of Hidden Stockpile, which is a black-white enchantment from Ether Revolt that says, Revolt at the beginning of your end step, if you had a permanent leaf play this turn, make a 1/1 colorless artifact creature servo. And then it has sacrifice a creature, scry 1 as an activated ability. And then Anointed Procession is the 4-mana enchantment from Amonkhet in white that says, if you would make a token, make double tokens.
Yep, I run that in my commander deck with
Edgar Markov, and that's insane.
It's disgusting. Yep. But so I'm assuming this has Marionette Master in it?
No, this is the base Esper Tokens deck. This is essentially just that engine splashing blue for cards like Search for Azcanta, the Scarab God, stuff like that. Doug's and Champion of Wits is the other big thing that you get.
Okay.
Doug's major innovation for this tournament was moving the Scarab Gods, which there's only one copy of in the deck, from the main deck to the sideboard. Because the way that he read it, he read Standard at this point is you have to have an answer to Scarab God. And every deck is going to have an answer for Scarab God by turn 5 when the Scarab God is going to come down. And in a tokens deck, where the idea of the deck is to invalidate all of your opponent's removal, playing the Scarab God just suddenly makes it so that your removal is all live. And it's like, this Vraska's Contempt is rotting in my hand, get your Scarab God, So basically, the Esper Tokens deck, he moved it to the sideboard because he just wanted to make all the removal dead. Because his only creatures in the main deck that are actually creatures are the aforementioned Champion of Wits and Anointer Priest. Which, if you don't remember, it's one of the white for a 1/3 that says whenever a token comes into play, or a creature token comes into play, you gain a life, with Embalm for 3 and a white.
Yeah, so basically, it's like, go ahead, use it on a server that can literally just sack it anyway, and it'll trigger Revolt because it leaves the battlefield. Thanks.
Yeah. He also has his exact list is a lot of 3s and 1s. Like he has 3 cast outs in the main deck and 1 Ixalan's Binding. He has 1 Profane Procession in the main deck. The other ways, and basically the way that you win the game is you just make a bunch of tokens using stuff like Hidden Stockpile, Anointer Priest, Champion of Wits.
Procession.
He also plays 2 copies of Start to Finish.
Interesting.
Which is the Black-White Aftermath card from Amonkhet, which is 2 and a white instant, create 2/1/1 warriors, and then Aftermath of 2 and a black for Bone Splinters.
Basically, sack a creature, destroy target creature.
Correct. And then his other main win condition is Chef Dunes, which is the desert from Our Devastation, the white one.
Oh, gives all creatures +1/+1 for 2 white and sack a desert.
2 white, sack a, yes.
Yeah.
So that's basically how he ends games.
I mean, just
pre-board.
Just go wide and smash face. Seems decent.
Exactly. And then post-board, he gets the Scarab God. He also has Search for His Canton in the main deck to help him dig. And basically, and he also has other blue cards in the sideboard are stuff like Negate and Spell Pierce.
So what did you? So I know you mentioned you're on your perspectives. Like, what is your take on the current standard that's about to end? Like, this is that was like the last week of standard. I guess. Basically.
I think the standard is very fun. I do think it's really interesting how late in the season it's become very combo oriented. Where like New Perspectives got 23rd at the last standard GP, and Blue Red Godfather's Gift put out 3 copies in that top 8. And so Blue Red Godfather's Gift being the most recent innovation on this Godfather's Gift kind of strategy, to have essentially a combo finish on turn 4 or even on turn 3 if necessary or if possible, is very interesting.
We mentioned that last week. It's the Combat Celebrant getting copied.
It's Combat Celebrant, bring back Combat Celebrant, bring back Vizier of Many Faces, cloning a Combat Celebrant, make a bajillion attack steps, not infinite combat steps, but a bajillion combat steps, to just kill your opponent.
An arbitrarily large number of combat steps.
Not necessarily arbitrarily large, because of how Combat Celebrant is worded. It's if it hasn't been exerted this turn, you may exert it, and if you do, you get another combat. So basically, you'd have to get all of your Combat Celebrants and all of your Viziers.
Oh, and just start cycling through. Yeah, I don't know. I gotcha.
Yeah, but anyways, you basically make a bunch of 4/4s and kill your opponent in 1 to 2 turns.
Sweet.
So Doug went 3-1-1 in the Swiss. He managed to get a handshake in the last round. I went 3-2 in the Swiss because I was the 7th placed player at the end of the 4th round. Played against the 8th placed player, but there was also the person in 9th who could potentially win and make the top 8. So I had to play, which I lost. Funny story: if I had won, I would have been the first seed in the top 8, and I would have played my friend Doug in the quarterfinals in the first round.
Oh dang!
Because he was 8th. So Doug played Grixis Energy, or played against Grixis Energy, usual Scarab God, red deck, stuff like that. He beat them 2-0. Then he played against Mardu Vehicles in the semifinals, beat them 2-0. But his semifinals game 2 was very, very close. He won with one life left. Once again, 1 is not 0.
Oh yeah, 1 is not 0 for sure.
And then in the top 8 in the finals, he was playing against Jeskai Godpharaoh's Gift. So this is essentially just the blue-white Godpharaoh's Gift deck playing red now for Fanatical Firebrand and Combat Celebrants. But they just couldn't give up on the fact that Angel of Invention is a very, very huge get off of a Godpharaoh's Gift. So he loses game 1 because he didn't realize how dead he was when his opponent brought back a Combat Celebrant. And Doug admitted he misplayed, and I told him so. And if he didn't admit it, he should. Because he had 3 mana available with like 5 creatures in play and a hidden stockpile on the battlefield with 4 cards in hand. The only relevant ones were Start to Finish, which was the card he was planning to cast, and Fatal Push in hand, which come out after board, obviously, in this matchup. His opponent landed the Godpharaoh's Gift, targeted a Combat Celebrant, brought it back, and then Doug let him go to attacks.
No.
But then Doug was dead. But because he could have sacked a token, got Revolt, and then pushed it. And then that would have given him a few more turns, but I do agree with Doug that he was basically dead that game anyways.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those, sounds like he was on the back foot hardcore at that point, so.
Game 2, he manages to win because his opponent mulligans to 5, and also Doug manages to land a Profane Procession, and manages to steal a Vizier of Many Faces, a champion or a Combat Celebrant, and an Angel of Invention, and then just starts playing his opponent's cards, and wins the game that way. Then in game 3, his opponent mulliganed to 6 again, and Doug managed to kept a decent 7, but he was on the draw, and he managed to grind it out and win off of making a bunch of tokens with what's it called? Anointed Procession. He had an active as Kanta. It was just. He managed to win, and this is his first PPTQ win, and his first win since he won a PTQ back in RTR Standard. Or RTR Limited, I believe. Which is
before we started playing again.
Exactly, which is what he qualified for when he played at Pro Tour Gatecrash. Here's the thing about this PPTQ season. If you win a PPTQ, because there's no store that I think can reasonably run a team PPTQ, that person can take two of whoever they want to the RPTQ as a team. So, as of right now, the team is going to be Doug, guest on the podcast, Vinny, and myself for the RPTQs coming June 10th and June 24th in Team Unified Standard. So, your boy's going to be playing in an RPTQ.
Heck yeah. That's how you go back asswards into
Basically, yeah.
Into getting into an RPTQ.
Yeah.
But who cares? I mean, if you do that, then you're qualified for the Pro Tour.
Yeah, it's the top 2 teams get qualified for the Pro Tour from the RPTQ.
And that's going to be, so region-wise.
So there is one literally in our backyard on June 10th. It's up in Madison, which is not that far from here, at the Next Level Games. We call it TNLG. And that's on June 10th. But we're kind of working through, because it's over the summer, people have summer plans, and so we may have to play the 24th out in Texas, which is not a close drive from Nashville, but that is the closest one that weekend, as opposed to the one that's literally down the road.
Wait, where in Texas though?
I have it actually available
because I've made the drive before from
Plano.
Okay, that's not too terrible. It's like up near Dallas.
Yeah.
No, I've made the
comics in Plano.
I've made the drive from about Fort Hood, which is like Austin-ish area, like Central Texas, all the way out past Nashville to
Knoxville?
No, it's the town that has all the race car stuff.
Oh, Bristol.
Bristol.
Yeah, no,
I've done that in one day. Let me tell you, 1,101 miles in one day. That was a bad choice. Technically, It was 2 days because it went like till 4 a.m. the next day. But it was bad. Lord. Yeah, that's not a fun drive. So
hopefully you were like tag teaming that drive.
Oh, no, I was solo. I was young and dumb. I was young and stupid.
Fair.
No, so with the RPTQs though, you only get one shot at it. You can't go to the one in your backyard and then go to the other one in Texas, correct?
Correct. Once you go to an RPTQ, once you go to the RPTQ you're qualified for, you can't go to any others.
Correct. I just wanted to let the people at home who might not have known
so it's not like go to the 10th one, scrub out, go to the one on the 24th. We don't have that. We don't have that luxury.
Yeah, you can't.
We're going to choose one weekend. We're going to go to that weekend.
Now, weird question.
Sure.
Say you or Vinny had also gotten an RPTQ invite. Could you use one person's thing there or the other, and another person's at a different event?
I think that's going to be a no.
No, I figured as much, but I was just being like,
I don't know that rule actually. That would be a question that I would have to ask somebody at Wizards.
Yeah, that seems like who
works in organized play.
Seems like a weird loophole though. Like you get a bunch of people who are like grinders, and you can just grind RPTQs, which is.
But basically, how this season worked, it was basically like one person wins a PPTQ, then they choose 2 of their friends to say, "Hey, we're going to be a team at the RPTQ," and then all 3 of those players just stop playing PPTQs. Essentially, although the other 2 people could still play or whatever. Because once you've got the RPTQ invite, you can't play in a PPTQ for that season.
Yeah, correct. So
yeah, but. It's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out.
And it's unified standard, right?
Yeah, Team Unified Standard, including Dominaria cards, which, just like Team Unified Modern, if we stack all of our decks on top of one another, they have to be a single legal standard deck, with the caveat that one card cannot be in 2 different decks. Decks cannot share cards that aren't basic lands, essentially.
Yeah, so basically, like the Team GP that just happened. Actually, no, it's different because that means... Because you can actually split cards across decks, I think.
No, not anymore. They changed that rule.
Oh, they changed it? Okay, so...
They changed that rule a few years ago. So if one of our decks is playing 2 Vraska's Contempts, that's all the Vraska's Contempts we can play.
Yeah, so you better be playing
if one of our decks is playing, like, 3 Isolated Chapels, that other Isolated Chapels can't just go to any other deck.
Yeah, you can't play... It's harder to play fun of cards.
Exactly. But that's going to be a question that we're going to be working on, and we're going to be trying to figure out. We're going to wait to see how Dominaria shakes out a little bit, see how the Pro Tour looks. And then we're going to try to let loose and figure out exactly, okay, what deck do we want to play? Like, what are the decks that we want to play? What are the cards that we have to play? What are the, what is it that we want? Who do we want to play what deck?
Who's going to get which deck? What seat should we even be in? And all that kind of fun stuff too.
I think I next leveled us when I was asking whether or not seeding depends also on deck participation. Like, are teams more likely to put an aggro deck in seat A versus an aggro deck in seat B? And I don't know if that's true or not.
That's something we could probably.
I think that's a super next level thing.
Yeah, that's one of those, like, the hardcore people will realize, like, who you're going to put. Like, usually you just put your best player on the deck they're best with in the center seat so that they can just, get done quickly and pop both sides to side if they need to.
Yeah. But that's something that we're going to discuss, and we're going to keep it a little bit close to the vest. We did talk about potentially doing like one big meeting that we do record, and we'll put out as a podcast where it's just Doug, Vinny, and I, and anyone else who wants to jump in the local scene from our friend group, just talking about decks and figuring out what are the decks we want to play and stuff like that. But that'll be a future discussion we're going to have.
Sounds pretty cool. Look forward to that.
Oh yes, I'm very excited.
Supplemental episode in a few weeks.
Probably a month or so, but yeah.
So enough about that PPTQ thing, which sounds amazing. You mentioned we had a massive info dump today.
Yes.
Across multiple
digital
websites.
Platforms.
Yeah, multiple platforms, yeah. So
we had arena updates because Dominaria, turns out, it's going live soon. Specifically, Dominaria is going to go live on MTG Arena on the 26th of April. With some visual improvements as well as a new battlefield image / playmat. Because right now you can either play in Ixalan or you can play in Amonkhet. By the way, I didn't put this feedback anywhere else, but I do love the fact that when you clicking on the battlefield, the sound is stereo.
Yeah, it's
so if
cool.
You're clicking on the left side, it comes out of your left speaker. If you're clicking on the right side, it comes out of your right speaker. Anyways, that's like a huge miniature thing. Also coming out on
little UI tweaks that are cool.
Exactly. Also coming out on April 26th is Best of One constructed events, which I'm kind of confused exactly what they mean, how that's different from ladder, but
so we mentioned multiple formats. There was also a live stream that they've been doing recently. Unfortunately, I work during the day, so I don't get to catch these, and I didn't have the time after work to run it back and rewatch the VOD. It does exist if you are absolutely curious in watching Trick and Nate from Wizards play some games while answering questions. We'll put it down in the show notes. It's just one of the Twitch VODs. It's really easy to go find if you also want to just grab it without looking at the notes.
Yeah. The other big thing that was announced alongside the Best of One constructed events is that we're getting Best of One draft starting on May 4th. So not too far out. And there's going to be draft events available each weekend. But one point of consternation that many people kind of got all up in arms about is that to start, there's going to be drafts against bots instead of just full 8-person pods. The easy reason why this is they don't want to have to try to run up with a queue system where you might be waiting for a minute or so in order to get full 8 people for a draft. And so instead, what's going to happen is you're going to be put into a pod with 7 computers, and you're going to draft your deck in that pod, and then play other people who had similar draft experience, a similar draft experience where they also got put into a pod with 7 computers and drafted a deck there.
Yeah. So what they've mentioned is they're still tweaking the AI and stuff, and there's actually a thing where you can actually shut the draft down mid-draft and hop back in later.
Which you can't do when you have 8 people drafting live.
Yeah, so you can basically be like, oh crap, I started a draft, I'm midway through pack 2, and I have an emergency popped up. You can close your client, or leave the draft, close the client, come back when you're done with your emergency, and hop back in right at the same pick you were at.
Yeah. So the big thing that the big reason why I think this is kind of a foolhardy kind of hill to die on is Hearthstone gets around this by not having keeper drafts, and B, their drafts being essentially pick one of these 3 cards and do this 15 times or whatever their deck size is. I don't remember. Eternal gets around this by, instead of drafting with computers, you're drafting full packs and you're drafting with other people. But essentially in Eternal, it's a infinitely large pod where you are getting past packs that other people have open and taken picks out of but you will very unlikely never see those people.
Yeah, and it could be somebody who had already drafted an hour ago.
Like a week ago.
Yeah.
Like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, maybe not that long ago. I don't know how quickly their latency goes, and they'll never tell us.
No, but it is kind of like the asynchronous drafting there is kind of cool how it works for that, but Magic has a very particular set of skills.
Because of the reason that cards can wheel. That's the big thing.
Yeah.
The fact that cards can wheel is kind of the big detriment to Magic, which while, yes, having an 8-person pod is a very nice, clean number as far as like a single elimination bracket goes. As far as, having a clean, not needing to necessarily, draft the same pack or whatever, the fact that cards wheel is very, very difficult, I think, from a programming perspective and a game design perspective.
Yeah, and they mentioned here too, basically some of the cards you might see some of these dual lands. The AI says they're going to be built to win. So it will be like, okay, I'm not in those colors. I just got a dual land that maybe be like a $10 card or whatever like that. And a human would be like, oh, sweet, $10. Get in, like later on the draft. The bot will just be like, nope, disregard. It doesn't fit my deck. And just
I think the other thing there is the fact that because we're on Arena and the card's value is strictly tied to its rarity. So people could rare draft to basically be like, oh, I need this isolated typo for my collection. They'll take it. But the fact that the bots aren't is actually something reasonable, and I think is a good idea.
But yeah, and I understand like this, it's an avenue to help the constructed deck. So it's like maybe you get in on that kind of thing. But at the same time, it's purely aimed if you. So again, we've said this with Arena a lot, is that if you have an issue with this and you're, it's probably not aimed at you.
Yeah.
This kind of thing is definitely not aimed at the hardcore. I'm going to go grind like 5 drafts just to practice for this upcoming limited GP or top 8 kind of crap that I'm going to be going to, or day 2.
Yeah.
So,
plus also, there's the fact that this is not a Magic Online replacement. This is not Magic Online Part 2 or Part 6 or whatever it is. This is supposed to be something else entirely.
Yeah. And kind of mentioning that too, gem purchases are going to be going live. Now, in the update post, they have a state of the beta thing, and they're like, yeah, we'll talk about this in the state of the beta. They didn't talk about it in the state of the beta arena or forum post, so I was like, maybe they talked about it on the web stream. I have to dig into it, plus dig through Twitter and see if they actually did. I didn't see any of the major players like Saffron Olive, Professor, anyone talking about like the actual economy.
I assume it's the same, like the gems to gold is going to be the same ratio that we're used to seeing of like 10 to 1 gold to or 10 to 1 gold to gems. Oh. So like 1 gem is the equivalent of 10 gold.
And speaking of that though, if you are in the beta, do not worry. There is no wipe incoming.
Yeah, the next wipe is either going to be when it goes to open beta or when it goes to full release.
Yeah, but
it's not imminent.
And a tweet that the MCG Arena Twitter account said too is, if you are in the beta, do not open your vault thing that you get, because apparently they're upping the rewards inside these vaults, so you're going to have better rewards. Now, that's the stuff that you like over time, and you accrue wins and you accrue packs you've opened. You get a little bit more chunked towards your vault opening, and then you can open it up.
The vault is a very weird system.
I did a vault opening like a week or 2 ago. But yeah, so I'm like about 50%, I think, towards my next one. So I'll grind it out, but it's actually fun. I was playing on stream last night, so we'll get to thoughts on Arena in a second. But there's also a show-off event. It's not a streamer really showdown, but it's a streamer show-off. There's a massive list of streamers. Just to name a couple of them, Mise is going to be doing it. Ashlyn Rose, Brian Kibler, Gabby Sparts, buddy Cam Alien's doing it. Loading Ready Run, Match of the Amateuring, Kenji, buddy Riptide Prolide, Semlin. Who's Semlin again? Travis Sowers.
Yes.
Yeah, Travis Sowers is doing it. And there's a whole bunch of other people that I don't necessarily... Oh, Trump. What's it called? Trump SC.
Yeah.
He does Hearthstone.
Yeah.
He'll be doing some too. So they got and that's like half the list. The other people I don't necessarily recognize, but there's a reason why they're getting roped in on this. I do recognize a couple people who who stream Magic regularly who are partnered with Twitch too. So
yeah. Also, this is not with like the regular accounts. These are going to be with like special accounts that have access to every card in the client, including Dominaria cards.
Yeah.
So they're going to be able to play with Dominaria cards right off the bat and try to do whatever they want.
Yeah, they're going to have 3 of each of the Dominaria cards unlocked. They have a bunch of packs to crack because everybody loves watching people crack packs, especially when there's really no value to it, like on these test accounts, basically. So,
I mean, also these are packs that Marshall can't complain about because they're not draftable, so it's fine.
Oh yeah, there's temporary accounts on a pre-production environment and stuff like that. So, what's great, and I really hope people aren't like, oh, they're feeding them cards, because these accounts are going to get locked out. They're not going to have access to these special accounts when it goes live on the 26th. So, there's apparently going to be more updates coming on April 25th, which is kind of cool because that's my birthday. Yeah. Get a nice birthday gift of a new set refresh going live next week, the day after. But Arena. John, are you in Arena yet?
I've been in Arena.
Okay, good. Right, yeah, duh. Wow.
We've had this conversation before.
I know, I'm a dumb. Anyway, so currently, have you been grinding that a lot? I know you've been jamming a bunch of your Eternal, because...
Yeah, I grinded a lot of Arena earlier. I grinded enough until I was able to open the vault, and then I was thoroughly unimpressed, and then I've kind of fallen off of grinding in Arena, mainly because it's just not rewarding to like grind in Arena. Like if I have, for example, I had like 875 gold, right, after getting all of my dailies out of the way and all of the other like daily wins. If I wanted to open that pack, I had to wait till tomorrow to the next day to get the gold in order to do so. And I would just rather try to grind and open it, get that pack that day. But the system doesn't allow me to do that.
Yeah, and
which is an economy issue, not a gameplay issue.
Oh yeah, of course. But it's one of those where because of the economy, you don't get to take advantage of the gameplay because you won't play. So yeah, I've noticed that where like I've gotten frozen out, or like I was streaming last night, actually finally won my. I don't think I actually won that match. No, I didn't actually think I finished my second daily in my 5th of the week. But it was one of those like I played 4 or 5 rounds and faced like faced Scarab God decks like 3 times, and I was just like jamming red white, and eventually tried Scarab God again and lost the mirror because I have a Scarab God on my account, which is not bad. I mean, I enjoy it. I turned the auto tapping off, which has made a world of difference. I'm learning how to do Shift Enter, which is the default past the whole until priority.
Yes.
It's I'm getting more used to the UI, and like that was my main the user interface with controls and stuff like that. Was my main issue at first. Like I know I talked about a couple weeks. Like once I get used to like how to actually get the nitty gritty down in terms of control for the actual thing itself, it'll be fine, and it's been great. I like some of the base decks that they've built for you and give you like the one mythic in the deck and stuff like that, which is nice because it fits the theme for a lot of them. I have a bunch of rare and mythic wild cards to burn right now, but I haven't settled on a deck yet. So maybe on a future stream I'll try and settle on a deck once Dominaria goes live next week. Can use use my wild cards on that stuff, but I don't know. It just the meta has been, like I said, the meta is weird, and the devs have noticed this. Like they mentioned it in the state of the beta. They've actually said, and I'll get to it here.
It's basically Scarab God.
It's literally a highlighted bullet point. Technically, it says we've seen some different types of complaints rolling in related meta games. Some are upset about blue-black control. Some are frustrated with mono-red aggro. Sounds like actual standard. But at this point, we believe that Dominaria releasing next week will help shake things up enough to address these concerns, but I still want to use this as a chance to quickly touch upon how we plan on managing arena-exclusive formats. Short answer, any arena-exclusive formats that may exist in future will be handled with the same care and attention they treat all Magic formats. Listen to player concerns, working with R&D to make sure formats stay healthy and diverse. They might have a separate arena ban list.
For arena-only formats, sure.
Right, yeah, for arena-only formats, like, that is really comforting to hear, to be honest. Like, saying, like, hey, we're treating this as basically a whole extra format for BNR lists. It's like, cool.
Yeah.
Like, that is great to hear. I really do hope that we see less of Scarab God, the format, once we get more cards in the thing, because it's kind of weird how you have Standard, which has Kaladesh, and then you have Arena Standard, which doesn't have Kaladesh, but has all the other sets and has a slower build to get optimal decks. So you're not going to see those like mythic rares that you would see like 7 or 8 of in a regular standard deck. You're going to have like maybe 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah, the big difference that a lot of people I don't think either understand or appreciate is the fact that in paper Magic, due to the fact that a secondary market exists, I can go out right now and buy a standard deck. I can't do that in Arena because Arena is not your local game store. Arena is a free-to-play game where the goal is for Wizards to earn money because you're eventually going to buy gems for either cosmetics or if you want to get packs, you can get packs.
Yeah, it's its own little fenced-in ecosystem, which is
right, and
good and also kind of weird in that sense where you can't just go... To be fair, you can't go net deck something easily.
And there have been a lot of great articles going around about how the Arena, how long it takes to get a viable, like standard worthy deck in paper versus in Arena. And I think for blue black mid range, it was something absurd like 70 weeks.
Yeah.
Or not 70 weeks. It was only like 30, 40 weeks or whatever, which is not reasonable.
So, and that's one thing. So I think with the wild cards, and I know people have also touched on this before, other things too, you really need to start valuing the power commons and uncommons. Stuff like a Gustwalker, if you're looking for an aggro deck. Because you're going to get a lot more of your uncommon and common wild cards to dump into those kind of cards, or even Lightning Strike.
Yeah.
Like, Lightning Strike is huge. It's going to be great. I need to buy more of them because with my red-white deck that I was playing with, I got my opponent down to 2 life, and then they stabilized. And I couldn't get another attacker through. And if I had a 4 of an uncommon with reach that can hit my opponent in the face, bam, that's great. That's what I need in my deck. I only had 2. Yeah. So that's one.
Yeah, and what you're describing is true of every free-to-play game if you are strictly being free-to-play. Where it's, you need to value your powerful commons and uncommons because it may take you a little bit to get that playset of that rare or your 2 copies of that legendary or mythic that you need. However, I do think that it should be reasonable to be able to get a standard deck before, or to be able to get enough of the previous set before the new set launches, which I think is the big thing.
Yeah.
But we'll see exactly how that goes forward in the future.
And something that didn't necessarily come out today, but was kind of announced, is that Brawl isn't going to be in Arena on launch. And some people are like, that's a mistake. Your new format, not on your new product coming out. And I'm like, going through these issues of, hey, I need to grind these cards out. It's like, that kind of puts a constraint on your wild cards as well. So it's like, do I shoot for just a Brawl deck, or do I shoot for a standard Arena standard deck? Where
I think it depends on what you're trying to get out of Arena ultimately.
Exactly. It's like, what am I grinding for here? Am I going to grind for Brawl, in which I prioritize one-ofs, and if I have 1 Ravenous Chupacabra, I'm not buying 4 Ravenous Chupacabras with my wild cards, as opposed to somebody building an Arena deck, like a 1v1 Arena deck, where you're like, I need 4 Ravenous Chupacabras in my Black X deck.
Yeah.
Or I need 4 Lightning Strikes, or 4 of these other rares. Like, I need to get 4 Glory Bringers or something like that.
Yeah, and also don't forget that because the economy is not fully complete until they have draft. And again, these are keeper drafts, so it's not like you're like the Hearthstone drafts where you take the cards but you don't get to keep them at the end of the day. You just get like packs or whatever. You get to keep the cards that you open, and so being able to draft as another way of spending your gold to draft, and usually how it usually works, I said usually a lot there, is that draft is going to be a better value for you than just buying packs.
Oh yeah, because right now
it should be.
Yeah, right now it's almost a situation of don't start buying packs anymore with your gold, just start hoarding it at this point until drafts go live. But
right. That's
in May, so you can go crack a couple more packs this week if you want to, but I would say with maybe a week or so out, if we find out once we find out exactly how the draft payment into it's going to work, definitely start prepping to draft a bunch if you want to do that. If you want to go build constructed decks, have at it. It's fine. Yeah. That said, I do like that they are stating they're aware of things and other stuff like that. Oh, speaking of 4-ofs though, fun thing they mentioned in this state of the beta, Rat Colony. the new card coming out that has the Shadowborn Apostle and Relentless Rats clause.
Yeah.
Of you may play any number of this card in your deck. How is that going to work on Arena? Well, they said how. All you need to do is unlock 4 copies of the card, and once you have that 4th copy unlocked, you basically get unlimited copies.
All right, that's clever.
So you can get 4 rat colonies, and then that unlocks you to build the full rat colony deck if you want to just get a ton of rats in your deck.
All right, that's reasonable.
Yeah, so it's like they're not going to be like, you want to play a rat colony of like 30, 40 rats, you need to get 40 rats. It's like, no, just get 4. And then we'll unlock the ability for you to just add the rest as you need.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty cool.
That is very good. I do like that solution. That's very nice. Speaking of Dominaria, there was a big rules change that we talked a little bit about when they announced them. But there's a few big rules changes that are happening with Dominaria that have gone live on things like Gather and Scryfall.
And Magic Online.
Basically, and Magic Online, which basically amounts to the Planeswalker redirection rule. There's also this thing where they applied the new legendary border to all cards with the newest frame, aka M15 and forward.
Yeah.
Which looks weird in some cases, especially on Magic Online.
It hasn't gone over well. Let's put it that way.
It seems that that hasn't happened very well. Also, don't compare trying to fix a bug with a card of doing a graphical change. Those are in no way comparable. Anyways.
Oh yeah, no. So basically, what ended up happening is I tweeted about this earlier. Is I think the biggest indictment of that frame change on Magic Online is simply the fact that the cards on Magic Online are such a slow or low resolution, like X by X, that it just doesn't look good.
That is definitely true.
Because in paper, like during the pre-release when they were showing them, it looked pretty decent, like paper-wise on stream.
Yeah. We'll see how they look when we get them in our hands, but I think they're going to look pretty good.
Also, of a quick little side note, people do have people who are basically retailers and or private sellers that have routes through distributors have been cracking boxes of cards already. Yeah,
so they can have singles to sell on Friday or on the next day.
And one of them, Jeremy, was posting pics of some of his pulls, and the constant question he was being asked the whole day was simply, how did the cards feel? And people who played the pre-release, like April, I know, was chipping in too, saying like, and Graham as well said, hey, we've had all these cards sitting out in the open in the Pacific Northwest humidity and moisture for the last week and a half now. A lot of them unsleeved and no warping. The foils, it has the Japanese matte thing now, which has always been regarded as that and Europe having the 2 processes that you want. It was usually the North American cards that were having the issues.
Also,
mostly.
There was one of the directors of products at Wizards. They're starting an article series talking about their process making the cards, and they're talking about how they were changing things up and how the Dominaria cards feel different, which is great.
Yep. But rules change.
Yeah, the Planeswalker redirection rule. Remember, basically they're changing cards cards that deal damage to players or planeswalkers. They're trying to make it simpler. Starting with Dominaria, if a card says deal damage to a player, it only deals damage to players. You can't redirect it to planeswalkers. Cards that this affects in standard right now, Hazoret. Hazoret cannot deal damage to planeswalkers. Chandra cannot deal damage to planeswalkers. However, there are other cards like Lightning Strike, which become very simple. Deal 3 damage to any target. Really easy. There are other cards, however, that suddenly become really complicated. Because Gatherer is updated.
Yeah, this is the one that I found through a Facebook group that I'm on, Magic, the Seattling. Someone's like, man, check this one out. It's Searing Blaze, the good old common from...
Hold on, I actually have a copy in front of me right now.
No, I have Gatherer pulled up, so I have the original copy and the original card text. So it has Landfall, and the regular thing deals 1 damage, and the Landfall deals 3 damage. So I'm not going to read both clauses. I just wanted to state that. So originally on the card, it's red for an instant. Searing Blaze deals 1 damage to target player and 1 damage to target creature that player controls. Straightforward, right? And Landfall, it does 3 damage instead of 1.
Correct.
It now reads, Searing Blaze deals 1 damage to target player or planeswalker and 1 damage to target creature that player or that planeswalker's controller controls.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it also states the same for the Landfall clause verbatim as well. It got wordy
Yeah, that's the problem with
Planeswalkers
some of these erratas.
Planeswalkers controller controls.
Listen, they're trying to make sure that the cards still work the way that you think they work in a lot of instances.
And that's great. That's fine. But I just find that
it is really wordy.
Tongue twister, like a little bit of a phrase, is Searing Blaze is like the perfect card to do that because of it dealing sources. It deals so.
And the fact that it lists it out the same way in the landfall text as well is the other big kicker.
Correct. So the fun thing about that is that if it gets reprinted, they're going to have to shrink the text because literally Searing Blaze as it is takes up the entire text box.
Or they're going to have to do something where it's like, Searing Blaze deals 1 damage to target player or planeswalker and up to 1 damage to target creature that player or that planeswalker's controller controls. And then landfall,
instead of 1 damage, deals 3 damage. Instead.
Yeah.
In each instance.
I don't know how, in each instance. I don't know if there's an easy card rules text way of saying that, but that's like the easy solution.
It'll be interesting.
It'll be very interesting. But then again, Searing Blaze, I'm not sure, is really hankering for a reprint in a standard legal set, at least anyways. So
it could see Masters print, really.
It could see Masters print. That is true.
It did get a dual decks reprint, Venser versus Koth. So if they ever redo that in a dual decks kind of anthology 2, I think it would be.
Like Chandra's Spellbook?
Yeah, that could be one. Namely, fun fact, though, about Searing Blaze, if you kids haven't played with this one, it deals 1 damage if either one of those targets gets hexproof or can't be targeted through some instant effect. The spell fizzles itself. It has to be able to do both.
No, it'll do its best job.
Oh, it just does just one?
Yeah, so the way that targeting effects work, here's a little magic rules ending for you. All of the targets of a spell must be illegal for the spell to fizzle. So if I deal 1 damage to your Blighted Agent and 1 damage to you, and you decide to give your Glistener Elf hexproof or shroud, the spell will do its best to resolve, and it will deal 1 damage to you.
So Vines of Vastwood basically can't be targeted.
Because it says target player. If it had just said deals 1 damage to target creature and 1 damage to its controller, then that would fizzle based off of Vines of Vastwood.
Sorry, yeah, no, I was thinking like under Leyline of Sanctity, you can't target the player, but you can target the creature. That's
well, the thing is, you can't cast Leyline of Sanctity either, or you can't cast Searing Blaze into Leyline either. But yeah,
because it has
Searing Blaze is weird.
Yeah, Searing Blaze is a really weird card to use for those things. Sorry, I brought it up.
No, you're good. It also gets into weird things like, for example, Cryptic Command. If I cast a spell and then you Cryptic Command my spell, choosing counter target spell, draw a card. If I counter my original spell, your Cryptic Command will fizzle and you won't even draw a card.
Because counter is like the second or third option on that, right?
It's counter target spell. Well, in that case, it doesn't matter because there's only one targeting effect.
Right. Because
if the target's removed, then the entire spell fizzles.
Right. If there's multiple targeting effects and you remove the first layer of it, I'm thinking Kolaghan's Command.
Kolaghan's Command will always work because you're always declaring 2 targets.
Right.
You'd have to make both targets illegal.
Yeah, and also this is the reason why if you are trying to, it's not really relevant more these days, but when Electrolyze and Spellskite were a thing, you'd always should at least ping Spellskite with 1 bit of the 2 pings. Otherwise, if you try to go ping your face, ping your creature, they can just go redirect the creature 1 to Spellskite. But if you ping 1 to the creature, 1 to Spellskite, you can't redirect the other ping to Spellskite.
Yeah, it's Spellskite makes a lot of things really awkward.
There's a lot of weird corner cases that are fun, though, to talk about. I like that kind of stuff.
It
hurts. It hurts your brain, yes, but they're fun to talk about.
It certainly is. So
with that, it's there's some interesting changes. A lot of these like rules references and other kinds of things we've been talking about. There was some weird Magic Online things that happened today.
That was weird.
It got buggy. So Dominaria cards were added to all formats, which meant reprinted Dominaria cards are now legal in certain formats. So basically, you can play Gilded Lotus in Brawl now, even though Dominaria print of it hasn't happened. Unfortunately, Gaia's Blessing and Nature Spiral aren't registering as legal right now, so that's kind of awkward.
And then there's also the fact that like Goblin War Chief, I think, is now legal in Modern.
Yeah, that's fun. Fun thing too is apparently people weren't aware that they implemented the Planeswalker redirection rule, so people are still playing games as if the redirection rule occurred, and like, oh, oh, it doesn't do that anymore.
Which Magic Online the Wizards people admitted that was a mistake, that they should have been more vocal about that they were doing that rules change here.
And
they should have done so.
We have the full Tumblr post linked below. But also, fun thing. So Brawl was released today. So if you like Brawl, it's now live on Magic Online. However, it broke Commander and 1v1 Commander in doing so.
Which is very funny.
Yeah, the starting life totals for Commander and 1v1 Commander. Now, remember, Magic Online is a plate of spaghetti of code right now, where literally you could make one tweak to something one place to, so instance, colorless mana completely broke the mana. Like, they had to redo the whole mana base, or how mana was operating in Magic Online. I talked to one of the developers when that happened, or about how they had to do it. Like, they basically said one guy just basically spent months on rewriting the actual underlying code for how mana worked, just to implement colorless mana.
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy.
Magic Online is like a sandcastle that is built on top of silt, that's built on top of air. There's just no structural integrity really whatsoever, except just putting more sand on it.
And to be fair, that's not in the... So I know friends at Wizards who work on the game. It's not their fault. It's literally just the fact that this game has insanely complex rules that are insanely complex to actually code, where some things won't work. Like
another story that I love was when they tried to make Whims of the Fates, or when they made Whims of the Fates in Born of the Gods, which is a 5 and a red sorcery. Each player separates their permanents into 3 piles and then sacrifices one randomly. Magic Online couldn't deal with separating things into 3s. It could only deal with separating things into 2s.
That's weird.
So they had to do a huge think tank about how to implement Magic Online, separating things into 3 piles. That's like a really weird one where you're like, that shouldn't be that hard.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's suddenly easy, like fixing like Wall of Roots bug or fixing Panglacial Worm or whatever.
Well, apparently the Wall of Roots thing too, people were giving an example of how Trinisphere had an issue with it on Magic Online. That the only reason that Trinisphere got corrected is because it was printed in Vintage Masters and they had to address it eventually. They're like, this is just some bug, like it's existed and we don't know how it broken. And then like they had to intentionally dig into it just to make a card that was in a special Masters draft set work. But
yeah,
either way, Magic Online's still great. It just has its quirks.
Magic Online is not perfect and no one will claim that it is. But
it's
the
like
best way
it's like
to
one
play
of the best
Magic.
ways to play Magic. Oh yeah. And apparently they also have a thing underlying where they made it easier to ship fixes without downtimes frequently. So like it might be a case of where they apply a hot fix where the next time you restart your client, it just automatically will pop it in. So that's kind of cool. So to close things out, there's a couple cards we meant to talk about, but didn't actually get to due to stuff and things.
Technical issues and the fact that we do like to keep this podcast to about an hour. And so let's see. I'm just going to choose one of these because I think the one that I highlighted in our show notes is the one that I think deserves not necessarily the most attention, but it was a card that I did not think would be reprinted in standard now.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, John, tell us about Icy Manipulator.
So, Icy Manipulator is a 4-mana artifact. It's an uncommon that says 1 and tap target artifact, creature, or land. Now, this is an old card. This is not a new card. This is not just a reprint from like Mirrodin, which I think was its most recent printing beyond this one. But this taps lands. This is not a fair Magic card. This was played in like Type 2 back in the day. That's how good this card was.
John, what was Type 2?
Type 2 is standard.
There you go.
I didn't play during then either. But I decided to use
this is like Rashad Import on drugs. That
it just doesn't tap creatures too.
It doesn't tap. Yeah, so Rashad Import's the land that taps for colorless, and then you can pay 1 and tap Rashad Import to tap the land. It doesn't make mana, but you can just tap this to tap an artifact, tap a creature, tap a land. Now remember, there are artifacts that state like effects cannot happen if this is tapped. I don't think there's any in standard right now that necessarily worry about that. This doesn't affect it if it's tapped, but I mean, you could just be like, end step, tap your artifact, because why not? But no, Ice Manipulator is weird and dumb, and I really hope that someone tries to make a really weird.
So here's the printing history of Icy Manipulator. Alpha, Beta, Unlimited, Ice Age, 9th Edition, 10th Edition, and Mirrodin, as well as one dual deck printing and dual decks Ajani versus Nicol Bolas.
Nicol Bolas.
But that is the printing history of Icy Manipulator. So I think actually 10th Edition may be the most recent one.
Yeah. I gotta say though, Titus Lutner's art for the new one is sick. So he talked about it, that it's like some Cabal not the stronghold, but like some Cabal temple little manor that they've taken over or something like that, and they didn't quite know what they were getting themselves into, and they tapped the Icy Manipulator, and it's starting to freeze things over in the building.
Haha.
Which is pretty kind of cool.
Yeah. So I was just surprised that they reprinted this card. I have a friend who really likes mana denial strategies, and he's really into it. I'm just like, please no.
So the flavor text on it is great too. It says, "Ice may thaw, but malice never does," and it's like, yes, it's so good,
so good.
But no, it's gonna be funny. It's gonna be one of those cards that it's an uncommon, so you'll probably see it later in the draft unless somebody wants to go the full bore control.
I think it's actually going to get picked like early.
Really?
It's a 4-mana artifact, but it's very powerful.
That's a good point. I mean, somebody will want a Dirtle deck.
We'll
I mean, it's a good way to lock down your opponent's best creature every turn.
That's true. And before we close, I do want to share what's probably some of the best flavor text in the set on Feral Abomination, which is a unimpressive 5 and a black common thrall. It's a 5/5 with Death Touch. However, it has one of the best flavor texts by Mr. Lost Spoon's Skulltown Gossip. Urborg used to be lovely. Scenic volcanoes, respectable lich lords. Since the Cabal came with their nightmares and thralls, it's all gone to the worms.
Yeah, respectable lich lords.
I remember those days.
Urborg used to be lovely. Remember, Urborg is where Yawgmoth died.
Yeah, it's not a fun place.
No,
anyway.
it used to be fine back like in the day when Venser's from Urborg. Like
Venser was doing his work in Urborg. I don't know if he was from there.
Oh, yeah, I don't remember.
But anyways, he was rebuilding a Phyrexian skyship, and then that's when Koth and Elspeth found him right before Scars of Mirrodin, and they're like, "Dude, what the hell are you doing?"
It's like, I don't know, stuff and things.
Yeah, and then Koth encased his head in metal or earth and forced him to planeswalk to Mirrodin.
Yeah, that's weird times. Story's good nowadays, though. Seriously, though, if you haven't read the story,
hey, Teferi showed up this week.
Teferi did show up this week, and I'm not going to talk about the end of it, but OMG, spoilers, the end of it's pretty sick.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Seriously, though, it's like they've been Martha Wells killed it. Or I think we're halfway through it now. Like 6 of 12 parts have been done.
Yeah, I think we are just halfway through.
And it has been pretty good so far. The band is basically together at this point, and we're...
I'm trying to remember, there was one point where I felt there was very stilted dialogue, but I think overall the story's been pretty good.
Yeah, that'll happen.
It'll happen. Anyways, Ian, if people wanted to find you and engage in all of the things social with you, where can they do so?
You guys can find me on Twitter at DixonIJ. That is DIXONIJ. And you guys can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Dix. I was going to stream tonight, but adulting came in the way of that. I'll probably run some arena stuff on Friday because I have off on Friday. I have off on Monday. I might even stream tomorrow or around the time you're listening to this. If you're listening to this, it might already be too late. Probably just jamming arena and I want to run some more Pauper.
For what it's worth, arena is very fun.
It is.
People are giving it a lot of crap, but it is a lot of fun.
Oh no, it's nice to stream too. Especially since it's just one round and done, which is so nice to not have to worry about sideboarding and stuff like that. But Pauper's great. Been enjoying it. I've kind of set aside the Marasatron deck right now, and I'm jamming a bunch of the is it Blitz deck that Lauren built?
Kiln Friend.
Yeah, Kiln Friend with Manamorphose. Let me tell you what, Manamorphose is the truth.
I forgot that it was common.
Dude, it's the truth. Like, in that deck, you were watching me last night when we were doing it. Like, it allowed me to combo off on turns that I would not have been able to combo off on before.
It's true, when your spells are free.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Anyway, John, where can they find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at JWiley129. That is JWILEY129. I'm also on Twitch at the same handle. If you see me around in Twitch chats, don't hesitate to say hi. I love to talk Magic, among other things. I've also, again, been uploading a lot of stuff to YouTube. What?
I was going to say, I should do a modern cube draft before it goes away in 2 days.
Yes, you should. I've also been uploading a lot of videos to YouTube. You can find them on YouTube under the username Well of John, because I like puns. The most recent upload as of today would be another Slay the Spire playthrough, because I've been really enjoying Slay the Spire. It's a real fun little game. Still in early access though. Still a few things that need to be worked on as far as like the UI and the smoothness of the game, but I do really enjoy the game. Hats off to Mega Crit for making that. Now, if you want to reach the podcast directly, you can do so on Twitter at EyesInTheMise, or if you have a more personal question, you can shoot us an email at eyesinthemise@gmail.com. We would love to hear how we can best improve the podcast for you, our lovely listeners. On behalf of Ian, I'm John. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to y'all next time.